Kleiner Sports Reporters, welcome to Knockout Bets Podcast, brought to you by anythingdisplay.com, upgrading your visual excellence. They sell banners, flags, and all your needs for trade show marketing. We are bringing you our best UFC 292 picks, our best bets. Again, thank you to anythingdisplay.com for setting us up. If you're looking for any trade show needs, head on over to anythingdisplay.com today. UFC 292. This card is going to be an absolute banger in Boston, shipping up there, returning back to Boston. And I'm not going to lie, there are a couple fights on here that I'm not too excited for, but there are definitely a few fights that I am excited to turn on and watch. The first, we're going to talk about two fights on the prelims, and we're going to talk about two fights on the main card today that we think are your best bets. And there's a couple other fights that we'll throw in there just for we think that you're good picks for some underdogs. The first on the prelim, this is coming from The Ultimate Fighter. This, if you've watched this last season finale, if you watched this fighter and these two fighters go at it in the Tough House, there was some awkward, intense moments. And I'm telling you right now, I think that this is going to lead to an absolute war. In the way that Cody Gibson finished Rocco in the final, so if you haven't watched it, spoiler alert, it really lets me know that even with a knee injury, Cody Gibson is a dangerous, dangerous human being. He's great on the ground. He's tough. Now, Brad Katona, he's one of Connor's guys. He was with the vets, but he's actually now on Team Connor after the switch, after all the prelims went off. Brad Katona, to me, is your stereotypical wrestler, grinder, fighter. Cody's a lot more freestyle. Cody's going to go where the fight takes him. Brad is going to be very technical. He's going to have a game plan. He's going to stick to it. Now, I think this fight, Brad Katona wins. So my best bet for this is going to be Brad Katona because I think Brad's going to be more technical. I think Brad's going to really drive in hard on his wrestling, use the cage control, and he's not a bad striker at all. I think this is going to be close. I think a prop bet to look here is fight to go the distance. Fight to go to distance. So Brad Katona, Cody Gibson, lock it in, Brad Katona. Next up, we have another The Ultimate Fighter matchup. We have Austin Hubbard versus Kurt Hollabaugh. Now, this one I actually think is going to be really, really close. Right now, it's about a pick 'em for the line, which I totally agree with. Both fighters are vets in the UFC. Both fighters have amazing records, 16-6 and 20-7. I think these guys are absolute warriors. Kurt Hollabaugh's semifinal fight to get into this finale was an absolute phone booth boxing match. Austin Hubbard, he's also going to be electrifying. He comes out very aggressive, although his last fight against Roosevelt did not really live up to the hype. But I think these two are going to go at it. I think that both of them kind of are going to have a similar style in terms of landing good punches and keeping at range. I think the aggression is leaning towards Kurt. I think overall skill, though, we're going to have to lean towards Austin on this one. So I think Austin's going to be able to get in there, get the job done, keep him at bay. I think he's going to be a lot less let it go to the wind like the last fight Kurt was in. I don't think this is going to be a barn burner. I think Austin's going to be smart here, but I still think these guys are going to throw some big punches and big hits, and I would expect a finish here. So I'm going to go Austin Hubbard by knockout for your knockout bet. Moving on up, Chris Weidman. So this isn't a fight that we're going to talk about, but rounding out the prelims, this isn't the one I would want you to put any money on, but it should be noted, Chris Weidman coming back once again. He's always fun to watch going against Brad Tavares. If you're looking for something to sprinkle a little money on an underdog, Weidman is your guy. Moving on to the main fight card, we got our last two fights we're going to talk about. Marlon Chito Vera versus Pedro Munoz. It's also should be noted that Chito's actually gave Sean O'Malley that asterisk loss on his record. So this is going to be a good fight. I think Chito Vera is coming back with a point to prove after his last fight. He didn't really have a great showing. And Pedro Munoz, he wants to prove again why he should be up there in the rankings and why he should, be able to give a chance for a title run here. Right now, Vera is very high favorite on the odds. So maybe work him into a parlay, but I would definitely be careful what you do there. Pedro, if you're looking for something, decision, Pedro to win by decision. But what I'm really liking is I think Chito has something to prove from his last fight. So I'm really going to think that Chito Vera comes out here, he gets the job done, and he doesn't leave it to the judge's decision. I think he comes out and he gets the finish. So you heard it from me, folks. Marlon Chito Vera with the knockout. Okay. Neil Magny versus Machado Gary. It should be also noted here that Ian Gary put the whole card on blast and let everyone know that he is the reason that everyone will be really tuning into UFC 292. And he has a good point. He has a big Europe backing, especially in Ireland. And, he said, what Europeans are staying up till 1, 2 in the morning to watch, or even 5 in the morning to watch Sean O'Malley and Aljamain Sterling. And he brings up a good point. I think this one is set right at what it should be with minus 500 favorite for Ian Gary. I think Neil Magny is very one-dimensional. Ian Gary has already said, and highlights have shown of him, he's becoming well-rounded every single fight. So I think Ian Gary gets the finish here. I think a fun prop bet to look at is deciding what round. All right, so I am going to go with a first round finish by Ian Gary. And if you want to make it even higher odds, I'm going to go with a first round submission. Why, you ask? Because Gary's been working in Brazil on his jiu-jitsu. I think he's going to show that he's got something up his sleeves and that he's done a little work in Brazil. And I think he's going to show off a little bit. So I think he's going to get the submission there on that one. Last fight that we're going to talk about, the fight that I am most excited for, because every time this man steps into the ring, he is entertainment. He is the UFC, I think, right now. And that is Sean O'Malley versus Aljamain Sterling. Sean O'Malley, I don't think we expected him to be in this position yet. I think we thought Dana was going to kind of let him go in a little bit slower and fight his way up the rankings. But when you go and beat a guy like Peter Yan, you really have no other options but to make him fight Sterling. So Aljamain, by far, hands down, going to be one of the greatest bantamweight champions of all time. There's no doubt about that. I think Sean O'Malley said it right. O'Malley's game plan in this is do not let Aljamain get his hands on him, and he needs to find that chin at range. If we've all seen it before, if Sterling can handle the ground and get O'Malley on the fence and really control him, O'Malley's going to be in for a long night, and we've seen Aljamain be able to do it to the best of the best. Control, rack up the ground control time, rack up those points, and steal round after round after round and win in decisions. With the exception of the TJ Dillashaw fight, but I put an exception with that because Dillashaw also hurt his shoulder. So I get there was a finish there, but I think a healthy Dillashaw, I think that one actually goes to a decision. I still think Aljamain pulls it off, but I don't think it ends like that. Sean O'Malley, though, he is dangerous from anywhere. So if you're looking for a best underdog value to take, we're talking about a guy who is historically known to go to the decision with Aljamain Sterling. And we're talking about a guy who can end a fight with one punch at any minute. The odds are in that favor. Now, again, I could see a very real scenario here where Sean O'Malley loses. The odds makers even think the same thing. But if you're looking to place some money on something that you have a good chance of winning at a very high value, Sugar Sean is your bet. I also think he's going to win. So Suga Sean is my underdog pick for the night. All right, my knockout bet for the night, I'm also going to go with Sean O'Malley. I think he's going to knock out Aljamain Sterling. Another one is Cheeto Vera. Those are my two knockout bets for the night. All right, that has been your Knockout Bets podcast. Thank you all so much. Again, brought to you by our sponsor, anythingdisplay.com. Make sure if you need anything to display your amazing company, you head on over to anythingdisplay.com today. Thank you, everybody. Good luck. Have fun watching the fights. And as always, keep the change.